So the last class, the 26th verse, the famous oft-quoted verse, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yo me bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhaktyupahritam ashnami prayatatmanaha. Whosoever with devotion offers me a leaf, a flower, a fruit, a water, I accept that devout offering of the striving self. So the flower of fruit or a leaf that one offers, as we understood, it's prima facie absurd, because you're taking from the God's creation and offer it back to him. So it is actually irrelevant. It has no meaning, because you're offering that which belongs to God back to him. Has no actual significance. But still it works if you offer it with the bhavana, with a feeling to cultivate that attitude of devotion, surrender, and it helps us to cultivate that feeling of humility and humbleness. So it's not in as much as what is being offered to Lord, but it is as much as to cultivate that feeling of one's insignificance. So it is not a mechanical exercise of offering to the Lord, but it is symbolic. The accent is to develop that devotion. So prayer is only a means of, it's an opportunity that you take to express an ever felt feeling of gratitude. It's like on a Valentine's Day or Father's Day, Mother's Day, you go and give a gift to your lover or beloved. It doesn't mean that you only love that person on that particular day and rest of the day you choose to hate. It doesn't mean that, isn't it? But when you choose a particular day to give a gift, it's only symbolic of your love which is pre-existing, and it doesn't perhaps express as vividly as that moment. It's a token of your love or expression of love, which you find a day or a moment to express. But that doesn't mean the rest of the days there is any lesser love. So prayer is an opportunity, or is a opportunity you take to thank the Lord for what you have been given, what you have been provided with, which you have actually taken for granted. Sadly so, you and I have taken what has been provided for granted, as a result of which we don't use prayer, we don't understand the objective or purpose of prayer. So the objective and purpose of prayer is only to express an ever felt gratitude. So what is the point we are making is, you must ever be grateful for what has been provided, but prayer is only times where you actually express yourself. Like some people are very good at expressing their feelings. Some people aren't. Just because you don't express your feelings doesn't mean you lack it. Some may try to do it in an elaborate way. That doesn't mean their expression is grand. No. That's what the Lord is saying. Just because you express it in a grander manner doesn't mean your love for the God is any great. I will accept, even if it is a flower or a leaf or a water, I will accept it. It doesn't have to be measured with a quantitative or a qualitative way. It is just that you must feel that connect to me. That's all that matters. It doesn't matter what you offer, as insignificant as it. So the accent always should be on that feeling than the act. That's the purpose of a prayer. And then we said a flower is the vasana. The flower symbolizes a vasana. Vasana is the fragrance. Vas means fragrance. So a human being is a consolidation of the insubstantial vasana. Vasana is, firstly, vasana is too subtle to be understood, too subtle to be defined. So vasana can't be perceived, can't be completely understood, because from there everything stems. Similarly, you can't perceive the fragrance. What you see is a consolidated form, like camphor. We take example, camphor is consolidated. Fragrance of camphor, you don't see. Similarly, what we see is manifested vasana. So a flower means a vasana, which is the fragrance of your personality. And then we said how you offer a flower, you pick up the flower with your 5 fingers, you turn your fingers upward and you offer. So that process or that ritual or exercise of picking up a flower, when you pick up a flower with your 5 fingers, means you pick up a vasana. When your 5 fingers, your 5 senses, you are pointing downward. When your attention is to the world, you pick up more vasanas and desires. That's what you mean. When your fingers are pointing downward, you pick up vasanas. So what you do, you pick up that flower, you pick up that vasana that you have, and you turn it upward. So when you turn your fingers upward towards the higher, it's a sublimation, transformation, eradication of a vasana. And that flower is offered at the feet of the Lord. So that process, we said, is offering of vasana. So a fruit, we said, is the effect of your past vasanas, past actions. Past actions is the cause. The present effect is the total vasanas, whatever vasanas I have. So when I'm offering a fruit to the Lord, it means I have no more fruit. I have given away all my fruits. I have given away all my vasanas. I have reached a state of vasana-lessness. And then we said a leaf means action, and water symbolizes crystallization into a form which symbolizes the gross body. So the accent is the Lord accepts offering of the striving self. So as long as you strive, you must, the accent is you must put in prayatatmana, keep putting your effort at every step, every mode, every stage of your life. You must put in the effort or the action. So what Lord accepts is your effort. So he will not accept if you don't put in effort and you expect God to do things for you. So the one category of people believe God does everything. One category of people believe God does everything. Second category of people believe I do everything. What is God doing? Huh? Tell me, what has God done? When has He done? Nanda, I have struggled, I have studied, I have put in the effort, I slogged. So it is my rewards, my fruit. I am responsible for my creation. Where is God, you say? So they challenge that existence of God and say, I am responsible. One set of people, they say, God will take care of everything. Who am I? I am nothing, no. It's all what is compared to me, compared to God. So He is the creator. Everything is His prasad. Everything is He does. So these are the two extremities. So first set of people, when they attribute everything to God, they don't put any effort. He will take care. If I deserve it, I get it. If it is there As they say, tala rata hai, or if a praptam, or if I am destined to get it, I'll get it. Why should I sit and worry? So what they do, they keep on doing prayers and offerings and rituals. They keep doing many of these various forms of worship. They don't strive. So the third category is those who strive and they use prayer. So while they are striving, they are tuned to the providence that plays a role. As Shakespeare says, there is a divinity that continuously shapes your ends. Every moment, every walk of the way, there is that divinity that plays its role, that it mends us. So to remember that there is that divinity, and you continue to strive and put in that effort. So Lord only accepts those who strive, but who operate with that feeling of bhavana, of devotion. So devotion, as we learned, is an antidote for ahankara and ego. So where there is no feeling of love, there is hatred. Where there is a feeling of providence, the opposite of providence is I. Ahankar. The opposite of having love is hatred. When I have love for everybody, I have no hatred. When I have no love for you, means I hate you. When I have identified with the providence, what happens? There is no ahankar. So bhakti is meant only to keep your ego in check. That's what the highlight of the verse is. So we should not miss the point. So the Lord makes it very clear by giving not much significance to what you offer, but how you offer. Accent is on action, yes, with bhakti. So the accent is not on what you offer. What is that feeling while you're offering? And once you offer with that feeling of bhavana, I tell you, it will be very difficult to hold on to your feelings. You just express that feeling of love or devotion you have towards anybody, you can't contain that feeling. It's infectious. Truly infectious. You don't have to express. It means you don't have to try and advertise. It's just that it just finds its own way. What needs to be cultivated is that feeling. It will find its expression. That's what is the message here. Okay, so we'll take up 27. Let's move on. Yat karoshi yadashnasi yad juhoshi dadasi yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushva madarpanam. Yat karoshi yadashnasi yad juhoshi dadasi yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushva madarpanam. Jama is asking a clarification just before I move on to the 27th. The question Jama is asking is, Guruji, can you please explain or elaborate on the leaf? We said it as action. Now, what is it exactly you want to know, Ma? As we say, it's a broad interpretation.
Guruji, I got clarity on the toyam. It's a fructification, or of your past vasanas and all that. And for phalam also, you said it's the offering of the vasanas till you eradicate. So how does leaf become the action? You said it's action, Guruji. So I just wanted to know that.
So perhaps it's again a broad interpretation. When you say leaf is action, you're performing multifold actions, the multifold leaves in a plant or a tree.
Oh, okay.
So you are performing various actions, and from that the fruit emerges. You know, the flower comes from the stem, and they're all interconnected, isn't it? The leaves and the stem, the flowers, the fruits, they're all in one. It all comes from the same seed, which is the vasana. So it is just an expansion of their understanding.
Okay.
You can say action as a leaf means multifold actions one is performing. That
Thank you.
Help. Okay, ma'am.
Thank you, Guruji.
Yes, ma'am. Now in the 27th verse, he says, Yat karoshi, yadashnasi, yajjuhoshi, dadasi yat. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer, whatever you give, whatever austerity you practice, O Kaunteya, do that as an offering to me. We are laughing here. I don't know whether all of you online can hear this. There's a fellow who is selling, who buys all the pata samanlu kontamu, pata bucketlu, pata paipulu, pata nallalu, pata means. So this is a constant, every time, wherever we are, I'm at home, we keep hearing this fellow. He'll put a automatic, recorded message. Ashrama, what's the meaning? And Sanjay, what it means is, we will buy old pipes, we'll buy old buckets, we'll buy old fridge, we'll buy old utensils, we'll buy old, this goes on. Huh? We'll buy old people also. So this is going on. So as we had to wait 2 minutes because that fellow had to pass by. Whatever you eat, whatever you hear, offer that as a Brahman to God. That is what that man gave a message to us just now. Just now we read, no, Yat karoshi, yadashnasi, yajjuhoshi, tadasi yat. Doesn't matter. He heard what Lord Krishna says, not my word. Lord Krishna is saying that. Now, what perhaps a devotee might think, sir, why are you limiting God to a place? Why are you limiting God to a form? Why are you limiting my offering to only a patram, pushpam, phalam, toyam? I don't believe God is stuck to a sanctum sanctorum. I don't believe God is in a form. God should be locked up in a temple, church, or a mosque or gurudwara. It is not necessary. God has to be there. So perhaps just to address those possible concerns of some intellectuals, he says, it is not only patram, pushpam, phalam, toyam, whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer, whatever you give, that also I accept. What is the problem now? There is no problem. So he's not limiting only to a form, he's limiting it to anything and everything that you do will be accepted. So every aspect of your personality has to be oblated to the Lord. That's what is the idea. So it is just not that while I'm doing the prayer, I must remember the Lord. In fact, real worship, real prayer, real bhakti, as I have said, bhakti, what did I say? If you go back to the previous verse, what was the quintessential statement I made? Sanjay, What was the quintessential statement I made in the previous verse?
That bhakti is an antidote to ego. This one.
That also I said, you may say that is essential from my point of view. But what is the essential point? What did I highlight? What else did I highlight? Yes, certainly it's an antidote. Did I not say that bhakti is a feeling of a never felt gratitude? Bhakti is an expression of a gratitude which is ever felt. It's like
Yes.
the love you have for your parents is throughout, but you may choose to celebrate a Mother's Day or a Father's Day. That doesn't mean it's absent 364 days. No, isn't it? So it is that ever felt gratitude, but prayer is an expression. Right? Now here, the accent is every aspect of your action must be oblated to God, not just the moments you are in the prayer room offering a flower or a fruit. Every action, whatever you do, you may be eating, you may be dining, you may be walking, you may be talking, you may be eating, you may be sleeping, whatever you do, everything must be as an offering to the Lord. It's just not how spiritual you are in the temple, church, or a mosque, how spiritual you are beyond the conducive environments. That is the real test of spirituality. It's not how spiritual am I when I'm wearing this robe. How spiritual am I when I'm not wearing the robe? Isn't it? Not in a controlled environment. Not in a conducive environment. Every action. So therefore, whatever you do, there must be that spirit of dedication of your action towards that goal, which is known as the act of oblation. You must oblate to the Lord, to the self, whatever you do. So there is no qualification that you must do this, nothing. Whatever you do. Now what determines what you do? Your vasanas. So did we not say the flower? What is a flower? Flower we said is a vasana, isn't it? So whatever you do, means whatever vasana you have, means whatever field of action you do, whatever you eat, means whatever senses you're engaging with. You eat food through your mouth, you eat food through your mind. What is the food for your mind? Feelings. What is the food for your intellect? Is ideas. What is the food for your body? Various actions through the organs of perception, the organs of action. Means whatever you may do, every gamut of action must be offered to the Lord. So therefore, spirituality is not a part-time, pastime, convenient activity you do when you have time. It is not a part-time pastime. Spirituality is a full-time, continuous awareness. UPS are there. Uninterrupted power supply madri. 24/7. It can't be that there are moments you are not thinking of the goal. O Kaunteya, O Arjuna. So that exercise of thinking of me must be ingrained in every activity. Like there is not a person who is interested in his own well-being, he wouldn't do any activity that would be detrimental to him, isn't it? If, for example, if I'm interested in my physical body, I wouldn't take any sharp object and start poking myself. I know that would be causing harm and injury and damage to my physical well-being. I wouldn't do that. Why would I do? Means I am not interested in my own well-being. So you must instill that thought of the self in every activity that you do. So he's giving us a license. It is not what you do, but just offer it to me. Okay. 28. शुभाशुभफलैरेवं मोक्षसे कर्मबन्धनैः संन्यासयोगयुक्तात्मा विमुक्तो मामुपैष्यसि शुभाशुभफलैरेवं मोक्षसे कर्मबन्धनैः संन्यासयोगयुक्तात्मा विमुक्तो मामुपैष्यसि. Thus, evam means thus, you shall be freed from the bonds of actions yielding good and evil results. Sannyasa yoga yuktatma, seeking yuktaha, union. How do you seek union? Through sannyasa yoga. Sannyasa yoga means yoga of renunciation. You shall be liberated and you will come to me. Harish, he starts the verse by saying thus. Thus means what?
Therefore.
Thus means therefore, refers to
As a result.
as a result. Result of what?
Result of being free from all our actions, from all the bondages.
No, you shall be, therefore, you shall be freed from the bonds of actions. So, therefore, is the conclusion. So, when would you be freed from the bonds of actions? So, when therefore, you shall be freed. So, there is a cause and effect relationship, isn't it?
Yes.
The effect is your bonds of action will be liberated. Right?
Yes.
What is the cause of it?
We shall seek the union, the yoga of renunciation.
No, Harish. In fact, the thought is carried forward from the previous mantra. In the previous verse, he said, what did he say in the previous verse? Whatever activity you do, if you oblate that action to me, if you think of me means the self, if you think of the self in everything that you do, there is no bondage from whatever you do. What would you do? You would be doing good and bad, which is what he says, isn't it? Freed from the bonds of actions bearing good and evil results. Karma phala. What's the karma phala? When you do an act with an offering to the Lord, there is no bondage of the fruits of actions, which is good or evil results. Like yesterday, even in the Mundaka Upanishad, we learned, didn't we? Mikima, this is a test for you. So yesterday, I know you were there. So it's just the thoughts are being reiterated in a different way, a different style. Now, what is he saying here?
So what we learned last time in the yesterday's class, that if you have a selfless motive towards your actions, then you become closer to me. That is, so you don't have to worry about your actions, just the intention or the motive should be correct, should be selfless.
Correct. So when your actions are selfless motive, when are your actions of selfless? Or in fact, selfless actions means no motive. Isn't it? There is no motive. Selfish actions and unselfish action both have a motive, as you rightly said. So when you perform actions consistently, selflessly towards the goal of realization, then you are liberated from the bond. So what binds you is the fruits of
Your bhakti or your bhav.
What binds you? The fruits of what actions bind you? The good or the bad deeds. You may do some selfish deeds. You may do certain unselfish actions. Those desire-ridden actions have and carry, any action that you carry a motive will have a karma phala, will have a fruit, will incur a fruit that is binding. So when you operate as suggested in the previous mantra, the 27th verse, the 28th verse, you will be freed from the bonds of actions. Now, therefore, what is the exercise you and I should do? Okay, well said, sir. You may say, sir, well said. Lord Krishna said, you also say beautifully. Now, what should I do after that? What would if I were to ask you, imagine yourself to be the guru, I am your student. And I ask you, okay, ma, very well said. Now, what should I do? Please advise me. What's your advice? Don't tell me when I become the guru, I'll answer to you. Please don't say that. You've already been given the status of a guru. So please answer me. Like other day, we gave the status of Mahaguru to him, no?
Yeah.
Mohanji is my Mahaguru.
So you have to keep your deeds or whatever you do. You have to, whatever you do, you have to believe that you're doing it for God, and God is making you do that. And your motives are not for yourself, but whatever you're doing is for Him.
But how do I ensure?
By keeping in keeping clarity in our mind, saying that we are not going, like whatever we are doing is what he's making us do. Maybe that is what I think.
All right. No, see, you will realize when we keep questioning a quality, there comes a clarity. Here, the statement seems very obvious. It's self-explanatory. You may say, yes, I understand. But when I want to practice it and I pause and question and examine it, I'm beyond a point, I'm lost for words. It's not that you're short of vocabulary. We are not able to go beyond in terms of how do I apply. I'm not coming to you, but I'm saying in general. Let me take any thoughts from the floor here. So what is advice? Yes, Setuji?
Have three choices to be selfish, unselfish, and selfless. So we should evolve from selfish to unselfish, unselfish to motiveless, selfless. And when we do motiveless, we are free from bondages.
Right. What Setuji is saying is that, just for the benefit of you all, Setuji is saying is we perform three types of action: selfish, unselfish, and selfless. So keep switching the motive from selfish motive to unselfish, unselfish, selfless. In effect, what I was looking at and what Setuji said is keep examining the motive that you entertain. The intention that you entertain every time you are getting into the action, the exercise you must perform, the sadhana you have to do, the abhyasa you have to do is check the motive. Why am I doing this action? And you alone know the motive. Nobody else knows the motive of whatever you're doing. And only way you can bring about a change to the motive is by questioning and examining the motive. Why am I doing it? Why? When you question the motive, there is a possibility of redemption, there's a possibility of a change, there's a possibility of a correction. Because every action there is a percentage of selfish, unselfish, and perhaps an element of selflessness in every action. So to that extent, one's actions are being bound by good motive and bad motive, which he says good and evil results. Whatever is the sankalpa. So sankalpa is a thought, but here we are saying a motive. We can say motive or thought is loosely the one and the same. But number... What is a thought? Correct. Why are you doing it? If you say welfare of all, what kind of action is welfare of all? What will unselfish actions produce? Punya. And what is punya? Bondage. That is why he says the beauty of the point he's making is not that only selfish actions bind you. There is no difference. The other day, recent classes we were taking, did we not say, you mentioned, I could be chained by a barbed wire. Remember, I can take a barbed wire which is used as a fence to protect yourself. You use over fences, over compound walls to protect yourself from trespassers. I can take that barbed wire and chain myself up, or I can take a fine silk thread and also tie myself up. What is the difference between a barbed wire and a finest quality Kashmiri silk thread? UK. What is the difference between barbed wire and Kashmiri silk thread? Don't say one is cheap, other is expensive.
One
Give an
is soft,
economical answer
one
to
is
this.
supposed to be soft and other supposed to be.
Correct. Thank you, Ma. I did not know that. One is very soft, one is very prickly, tarny.
Yeah, but both have the same effect, Guruji.
What is that?
I mean, you're bound, you lose your freedom, and then you're.
But what is the symbolic comparison here? What are we comparing the silk thread to, and what are we comparing the?
It is the same karma phala, Guruji. One is a silk thread, you think it is punya, and the barbed wire is papa. But both are binding you, both are chaining you, and
So as quickly as possible, if you can get on to that selfless way, you will not be bound. The longer you linger in unselfish, you're also being bound. Remember that. It is so difficult to understand this. That is what. So when we say selfless actions, there is no bondage. So as long as you are entertaining a motive, there is bondage. Using identity, big word. So what we are trying to tell is, you must question the motive. Every action you perform, you must question what is the motive behind that action. Why am I doing it? For what am I doing it? Because I am the only person who knows what am I doing, for what am I doing. And what we are saying is, the more you identify with a motive which is either positive or negative, it results in bondage. Correct, Dane? Shivaji? As long as you identify with the motive, it has a bondage. Therefore, get away from any motive. Be liberated from motives. No sankalpa. Now, what you have to do for that is you must get on to the try to get on to the selfless way of life. Now the question is, how can I get on to the selfless way of life? So what does selfless mean? If you go back to this point where we said what is prevalent, what is present when you identify with the motives, there is a desire. There is a karma. Karma is a desire. You have a desire either to perform a selfish action or you have a desire to be of service to others. I want to be of help to you. I want to serve you. I want you to be benefited by my action. Or what can I do to help you? There is a motive. There is a desire to help you, isn't it? So as long as actions are there where there is a selfish or unselfish motive, it will have karma phala. Therefore, they are saying, get on to the selfless way. That is when there is no bondage of good or bad action. Therefore, we are trying to say, selfless action means there is no kama, no desire prompted action. Your actions are not desire prompted. Selfless action is there is no desire. In effect, why we say no desire? No desire is with reference to the world. You still have desire for the self. You have desire for self, but no worldly desires. So only when you perform selfless actions, there's no bondage. Therefore, what exactly does selfless mean is you must try to get on to the mode of operating what is known as, in Sanskrit, it is known as karyam karma. Karyam karma simply means obligatory duties only. When you perform obligatory duty, what it means is there is no kamya. Kamya means no kama, no desire. No kamya karma. You don't perform any actions with desires. So when you perform selfless actions, means you're only acting on obligation. When you find you have an obligation to do something, you do it. Otherwise, you don't do it. Otherwise, you're entertaining a motive.
You perform obligatory duties, you may be selfish and selfish.
When you are performing obligatory duty, there is no motive. Right now, sir, I have a weekly obligation from 11:30 to 12:45 to take Bhagavad Gita class. Full stop. Now, why should I carry a motive while I'm doing this? I can. When I say this, it becomes my bounden duty. I have to do it. But while I'm doing it, I can make this action a selfish action. I can also make this an action. Oh, you people are so genuinely interested to learn the Gita. I want to help you out in teaching the Gita. So I am entertaining an unselfish motive. Or I can say, I am doing my dharma. I am doing my action, which I'm bound to do, and I'm doing it for moksha, for realization, nothing else. Go back to verse 27. When you do what is implemented in 27, in 27, did he not say, Mikima? You said that, isn't it? You have to do for the sake of the self. So while I'm teaching this knowledge, if I'm able to think of the self while I'm teaching, is this not a selfless act? So I am not incurring any karma phala. I am not incurring any fruit which is going to bind me from this action because there is no motive. I'm saying there's a possibility that this can be a selfless action. I'm not proclaiming that it's selfless. But I'm doing because I have no desire to teach, nor is there desire not to teach, but yet I'm teaching. Why? Dharma, my karma. Karyam karma. So if you go on performing only obligatory actions every point of the way, and whenever a motive comes and presents itself to you, you keep questioning, what am I seeking out of this? Why am I doing it? And by questioning and examining, if you find there are any weeds in that motive, keep removing the weeds, keep removing that unhealthy motive. When you keep removing the motives, first all the gross motives come. Then comes a subtle motive. Then comes no motive.
Would be unselfish to selfless, selfish to selfless. Chronology
Yes, sir. You have to move certainly from selfish to unselfish, but those who are unselfish should not linger in unselfishness. Sir, why are you lingering in that punya loka, sir? I'm telling you.
not lingering, it's a process. So what
I'm saying expedite the process. You can't say process and stay put there, no? No. I'm only saying unnecessarily we are entertaining certain motives we should not, sir. Don't we think at times we get into an activity where we don't have to get involved? If of all the services one can render, when you talk of unselfishness, of all the services one can render, what are the various forms of services? Material service, physical service, emotional service, intellectual service, spiritual service. Swadhyaya. The highest service is the spiritual service. So, my concept we are trying to drive home here, the point which the mantra is trying to tell us, it doesn't spell it out, but we are drawing out from it, is try and uproot the motives and reach a state of motiveless action. So you keep performing the actions, but try as quickly as possible to get on to that mode where it's only obligation. If I'm obliged to do it, I'll do it. If I'm not obliged to do it, I will not get into it. Why to get unnecessarily bound by an action? Why should I incur a sin? Even if I'm doing with the motive of doing some good to humanity, I'm getting bound. What sort of a bondage is that? You think you're being liberated. No, you're still bound. You will come back to the same cycle of birth and death. It's just that either you're in a economy class or first class. Same flight. It's just that you're traveling in a different class, but the same state you're in. You're still going to come back to the cycle, because what happens is when you perform any action with a desire, it creates more desires. Remember that. Even when you say, sir, that you must be unselfish, if I act on an unselfish desire, it multiplies more unselfish such desires. So if I do one, I'm creating one more. If I perform 5, it creates 5 more. If I act on 10 desires, it creates 10 more new desires. It's a burden. It is only going to increase my bank of thoughts, and further creating, it's a vicious cycle of punya I am getting caught up in, even if I'm unselfish. The only way you get out of this vicious cycle like a meteor is by getting into the highway of selfless way. Not easy, but you must get on to the selfless way. And how you can get to the selfless way is by having the knowledge of the self, by thinking of the self alone. Anything in the world you think of has a motive. The only thing outside the world is God. You think of God, you're liberated. Everything within the world, you are bound. Not difficult to understand that. Any thought you entertain within the world, you're bound. The only thought outside the world is God, that is alone going to liberate you. It's like, and I've, sometimes in deserts, you get this quicksand. I go into the quicksand. And the more I struggle, the deeper I'm going. Now, what can pull me out? The only thing that can pull me out is that which is not in the quicksand. If somebody were to throw me a rope, or if I hold on to something which is outside, that is the only thing that will pull me out of it. No? If I'm going to hold on somebody else, I'm holding on, I'm trying to struggle, I'm pulling him, pushing him down, I'll also go down with him. There's nothing that can help me out of that state except something other than outside that state. So Brahman or the God is the only factor outside the world that can liberate you from the world. Anything within the world is only binding. So ultimately, I'll have to switch to that frequency of the 27th mantra and start performing intelligent actions. How you have picked up the motives that you have today, your past unintelligent actions has created present motive. Another? Accept it. You have to strive to get it out of your system. Oh, I've got fever. Then what? Do the right thing that the disease gets flushed out, isn't it? Acceptance is not going to do anything. You must act towards it. So what we are saying is your past unintelligent actions have created motives. Why? How I have ended up with motive, my past unintelligent actions. We are only saying, don't continue to perform such actions. If you get on to the selfless way, consciously question, examine, uproot the motives, you will get to that state of selflessness. And how to get to that state? By seeking union through sannyasa yoga. So what is sannyasa yoga does to you? Sannyasa yoga, yoga, there are two words in the word sannyasa yoga. Two opposite words. Most confused statement of that. Ilya, sannyasa yoga. Sannyasa means union. Sannyasa is detachment. Yoga is attachment. Right? Detachment, renunciation, getting rid of it. So one is to drop, other is to pick up, which is exactly you said. You have to use the spiritual ladder of detaching yourself from the lower, get attached to the higher. Detach yourself from this, get attached to something higher. So it's like when you are climbing a staircase or a ladder, you put your foot firmly on the above pedestal, remove the lower feet, the other feet. You put the left foot on the higher pedestal, you take off the right foot. That's how you grow. So sannyasa yoga is nothing but like climbing a ladder. So renounce your current motives, entertain a higher motive. And very soon come to a point where there is no motive at all. How? By thinking of the self, by oblating your actions to the self. And what action you should do to the self? Whatever you do. You can be a carpenter, you can be a butcher, you can be a cook, you can be a guru, you can be anybody. Doesn't matter what you do. As long as you think of the self, that's all matters. How the beauty is what we are trying to do is convert this statement of fact into a statement of abhyasa. It's a matter of fact, he says. Statement of fact is Lakshana Vakya. Statement of practice is Abhyasa Vakya. So Abhyasa, what we need to do? Ashama, what did we say that we should do?
Do what, Guruji?
You must
We
answer mobile.
No, no. We should be detached. We should be detached to the action itself.
No, what is the abhyasa or the practice that we said we should do?
Seek union through sannyasa yoga.
Correct. You seek union. That we said little later now.
Yeah.
But in the earlier section, we said you must be freed from the bonds of action, good or
Action.
bad.
Yeah, good or bad.
How to be liberated from the bonds of actions?
You don't have a motive for it. Question yourself, why am I doing it?
Question the motive. First of all, you must be mindful of the motive.
Motive, yeah.
Find out, am I carrying a motive? In fact, 9 out of 10 actions, you have a motive.
I'll give a small example, Guruji.
Please.
In our small community in Ambernath, there was a local temple. And there were 3 or 4 benches there where during the late afternoon, the ladies used to come and congregate. There was one old lady who would always be grumbling. I want to be free of this. My son and daughter-in-law, they go to work and I have to look after their little child. I have to bathe him. I have to put him to sleep. I have to feed him. What I want to do is just get free of these obligations and do my puja, my sadhana. So the local priest one day heard about it and then he explained to her. In Maharashtra, it is very common to have a small Bal Krishna, the murti of Bal Krishna like crawling. It could be bronze, silver or gold. They have in their temple in the house. So the priest explained to her, when you're giving bath to your grandson, it's not that, it's giving bath to the Bal Krishna in your temple. When you're feeding this grandson, you're not feeding the grandson, you're feeding Bal Krishna. So when you do that, it won't be, you won't feel your...
the burden.
Yeah, burden. So
Absolutely. So that lady must have attained moksha.
We don't know. But that is how she was pacified a little, like, okay.
That's a fabulous advice she got.
Yeah, that's true.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you, ma'am. So as we've said, it's the most difficult thing to do is to uproot the motive. Swami Ramatirtha always keeps saying, why do you fellows have motives, man? Why do people have motives, he says. The earth yields vegetation, does it have any motive? The clouds gather to give rain, does it have any motive? The sun rises, does it have any motive? Any animal in the jungle you go, it is majestic, it has no motives, it is what it is. The flower doesn't bloom only when it has visitors. It blooms even if it has no visitors. You can't go to the flower and say, hey, why are you blooming today? Tomorrow is the function. Can't you hold on till tomorrow? Everybody will appreciate you and the fragrance, and some may want you and possess you also. Today, nobody is there to see you. Why are you blooming today? No motive. Look at nature. Including the animal kingdom, nobody has a motive except a human. And Ramatirtha says, just humans have motive. It's only the human that suffer. It's so true. When you look at nature, there is no motive. Everything is selfless. It's just doing its dharma. So by entertaining a kama or desire, you are not doing your dharma. Therefore, selfless is doing your dharma, which is your karyam karma. So we don't understand the intensity of the word doing obligation. Today, in the name of obligation, we are only terribly attached to our family or my child or my work or my home or my business or my charitable work I'm doing. Attachment. It is not dharma. It's selfish attachment. My institution, my family, my child, my business. It's not attached. It's attachment. It's extremely selfish attachment. So if it is not your dharma, if it is not your duty, you should say no to it. You must have the intellectual clarity and strength to say no to anything if you are not bound to it. Hope it's not personal. In fact, this morning, Sinha from Malaysia, Amitama's husband, sorry Sinhaji, I'm just giving out the personal question you sought. This morning, I just got a call from him, from Malaysia. He said, sir, you will see him in the retreat, he's coming. Full of energy, that fellow. He said, Guruji, I have a predicament, I want your opinion. There is a family marriage. My wife's sister passed away 2-3 years ago. So my wife is taking the role as a mother. So there is this marriage coming the next weekend. And I've been involved in the whole thing. We're looking forward to celebrate the marriage in the family. I got news yesterday that my brother in Australia has passed away. So what do? Am I to go for the funeral? Or am I to be here next week? And the funeral also is next week because all the procedure and whatever, I don't want to get in detail. The funeral is only scheduled for next Friday. So am I to be there in the funeral? Or am I to be in the marriage here in Kuala Lumpur? I want your answer. I said, how can I decide for you? I have called you for your opinion. Guruji, tell me what should I do? What is right thing for me to do? Is it my dharma? What is my dharma? Whatever I said, that I don't want to tell out. It's personal between me and him. I already told everything. Then you say, what more personal? Now, each of you will have an opinion, so I don't want to give. You can carry your opinion. But I'm saying you're in a predicament. Is it my dharma? What am I to do? Is it my obligatory duty? You know, one of the most difficult choices people have, especially are those who are in the wild capturing this wildlife photography that they do. They are in such moments where they see innocent fawn, innocent little bones are mercilessly torn by these carnivores in easy prey. You know, there's certain times of the year that these wildebeests or these gazelles or these herbivores produce and they give birth, and they are in hundreds. Imagine 100,000 zebras and most of them are giving birth that time of the year. So it is bumper crop for these carnivores. So they wait, they chase, they know this is the time, so they wait to kill. And these photographers, they are all the time capturing those moments, so they're able to convey, and they say they're sitting behind the camera from a distance, zooming into them, capturing little zebra that is born, and the tiger is tearing into pieces. Now, am I to step in and protect that little life, that just few moments in this earth, or deprive the tiger or the carnivore of its meal? What should I do? Then they realize and say, it's one of the most philosophical movements. You just stand apart and see the play of nature going on. Who am I to fiddle with it and do whatever I should do? I do nothing. Just to take that step back and witness is the most difficult thing. It's so many a time you don't know, am I to commit to it or not? Is it my dharma or not? Not easy. Yes, Haresh?
Guruji, so in this context, Guruji, when we are attending classes as students for the Bhagavad Gita, is that action considered selfless? Because we have a desire to grow as people and realize ourselves eventually. So by attending this class, is it a karakaryam karma for us?
No, I have different types of people who come for the classes. They have nothing else to do, they come. Is it free classes? Then I come. I had people coming, I remember one fellow had no job. Came because he wanted some emotional solace. Suddenly I stopped, see him coming. Why? He got his new job. First thing he stopped his Gita class. I don't need. No, I don't know why you all come for the classes. You may say, I want to become a better person so that I'm able to sleep well. I have manashanti, mental peace. I'm able to manage my mind well. I'll have mental peace. Therefore, I'm coming Gita classes. How many of you are saying, I want to seek moksha? All I'm seeking is enlightenment. So if there is any motive other than self-realization, it has a motive.
Yes.
Sadly, so anything other than self has a motive. Therefore, it's not easy to switch to selfless. It's easy to be unselfish. But from unselfish to selfless is almost very demanding. I would not use the word impossible. It's very, very demanding, because the only thing that you should do is, Vasantama, for selfless, the only thought that should entertain is no. When does your action become selfless? When does it become no motive? No. Only when you entertain thought of the self. Highest. The highest thought, when you entertain actions, become selfless. Anything other than that, it is unselfish. It's only me, it is selfish. Oh, everything I do is for my benefit. I feel good about it, I do it. If I don't feel good, I will not do it. I will not go through any pain or strain or sacrifice, because what is in it for me? Nothing. Why should I do it? That is selfish. If that thought of me and I is there, it's selfish. Thought of others' benefit, unselfish. Thought of only self-realization. I'll give you a story of the two Dwarapalakas. The story of two doorkeepers who were said to be guarding the doors of Lord Vishnu. And there were few celebrated sages who came to seek as audience, unappointed. They came at an hour when Lord Vishnu was resting. And they said, nothing doing, nobody is to disturb the Lord. That's the instructions we got. So they disrespectfully disagreed to allow to Swamis to go and have audience with the Lord. Obviously, these Swamis or Rishis who were so celebrated in their own regard, they felt insulted that they were stopped by these two doorkeepers. And there was a little commotion, and a commotion, Lord Vishnu woke up and he came out. And instantly he greeted them and said, what is happening? And these people were pleading for help almost, because by the time the Lord came out, these Swamis, through their tapas and penance, they cursed these fellows. That you will go, you will be separated. You think you are the guardians of God, you will be separated from Lord Vishnu. They were crying, oh Lord, we were only doing Haryam Karma. You told us to protect your sleep. We protected your sleep. See where we landed. To cut the story short, they had a choice of to spend 100 Janmas as the greatest devotees of Lord Vishnu. Means birth and death 100 times. To be heard and known as the greatest devotees of Lord Vishnu. Haresh, I'm telling the story to you because in the audience here, everybody knows the story. You know the story? I know you would not know. That's the reason I'm telling you. So where are you in the story?
Whether they have a choice of coming back 100 births to serve Lord Vishnu as the gatekeeper.
They'll come back to Lord Vishnu after serving 100 Janmas on earth as the greatest devotees of Lord. Means every birth you will be praising and singing the Lord's praise, and you will be known as the greatest bhakta. For example, if you want to know who is the greatest devotee of Hanuman, of Rama, you would say Hanuman. You know, Mirabai or Sant Kabir or any of these great men who did such divine work. Or you will be known as worst enemies of Lord Vishnu. All your life will be cursing the Lord, but you will go through 3 Janmas. So the Lord said, I can't wipe off what these wise men cursed you, but I'll give you, I'll ask them to request and say, little twist will make. This is the twist to their curse. Either you choose 100 birds or 3 birds. And these wise men, what they chose the 3 birds to be born as the worst enemies of Lord Vishnu. Why, Vasantama? They quickly come back to the self.
Even when they are opposing, they are saying his name only.
His name only. Even when they are his enemy, they are thinking, hating God only. No? But however, they chose the fastest route to get back to the self. So the objective, a lesson for us in that example is, can you entertain the thought of self in everything that you do, and you're interested in the self and nothing else other than the self? Nothing else in the self interests you. Anything that takes you away from the self also doesn't interest you. If we are able to live up to that benchmark, then if you say, sir, this class also I'm attending for that reason, then you are selfless, Harish. If not, nothing more to say. Correct. Why should I? I will not reject it. I will not decide for you, Harish. It's not what you do, but for what you're doing it. So the thought of self, that's why we kept saying, there is, as you think, so you become. This is a law of life. This is the law of attachment. As you think, so you become. Why can't we think of the self, even if it is a lip service? Why can't we just say, my objective, my goal is to attain moksha? That will become. So much so nowadays, whenever people are messaging me out of love or concern, they keep saying this, may you attain moksha, Guruji. The latest was Ashama. Ashama, did you not say that? Yes or no? Did you mean what you said?
I meant it, Guruji.
You meant
Yes.
it? No, that's all I want, Ashama. That's all I want. So she meant with such love. What a... In fact, I found my Shabari. I must say that. I was so touched by her devotion. It's like Lord Rama meeting Shabari. I met her. It was a fascinating feeling, fascinating experience. I was there a couple of days in Bangalore with her. Just got back. What affection, what emotion, what purity.
It's your great.
Meant it.
It's your greatness. आपका बड़प्पन है ये.
It was such a pure feeling, such a pure thought. So I know you would have meant it. So imagine everybody, if somebody greets you, they say, may you attain moksha. Why would they say? Why should they say? Because that is what they associate with me. That is what you related when you associate with me. So may that be May that be the truth. Why can't I resonate? Tataastu, isn't it? Let that wave of Mahat be created. So wherever you go, I come to you, you must bless me, I associate with you, I bless you and say, may we attain moksha. Let that thought, let that bug, my whole objective is, I want to implant that bug into you all. Let the virus spread. Rest time will take its course. Yes, yes. Together, we are already together. Okay, Harish? Right. All right. So think over it. As I said, the whole objective of this 28th verse is the abhyasa you got to do is keep examining the motives that you're carrying. We have just little spilled over today, but I believe it's okay. We started a little late. We had some technical issues here. Don't forget that. Keep countless actions we are performing. To be mindful of every action, what is the motive? And when we don't understand that I am responsible for the fruits, you will never question and say, why is it happening to me? Okay. We'll come back. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.